Welcome
to
Tea Time
with the Judges.
I'm your host, Dr. Kalie Judge, and I'm here along with
Dr. James Judge, and we are going to bring to you Resolve Part 3. Sugar, protein, and fats. So we're going to go through that in detail, and if you change these things, your world will change because your body changes, and your energy changes, and your life changes.
And then everything changes.
So the theme here is let's start to
change.
Changes.
Changes?
Changes.
Let's start to changes.
Let's start to changes.
So we left you guys last week with a quote, and I'm going to read that quote to start things off. What do you think?
I think it's beautiful.
Perfect. If you're over 40 and do not smoke, there's about a 70 to 80% chance that you'll die from one of 4 diseases: heart disease, cerebrovascular disease, cancer, neurodegenerative disease. If you're over 40 and you do not smoke, that's a big thing. 70 to 80% of people. So what does that mean? How can that even be possible? Because I know we read that last week, and I heard some patients being, well, I guess we're all just going to die. So what are some stipulations maybe that have to do with that? I'm watching you giggle at me.
It's because your head is in the way. There we go.
My big fat head.
All right. So the stipulations from that is that we have decisions to make. And again, we started this with changes, right? We have to start making changes because if you have a 70 to 80% of chance of dying from those things, that means that chances are if you don't do something completely different, you're going to end up there. So it's not about saying, hey, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. It's about saying, hey, there's a potential that you have to start changing the direction of your life. And even if it's just a simple change, right? Changing sugars. We're going to go through a lot of that today. Changing the proteins that you consume and the time that you consume them is huge. And changing the amount of fat that you eat. And for me, fat is my #1 fuel source, and it's going against the grain. And again, you know, why would you want to go with the grain, right? The stuff we've been taught our entire life about sugars and proteins and fats, it's killing people. It's killing your friends. It's killing your family members. It's killing Americans. And we have the ability to make those decisions to make a change. I'm going to be able to talk pretty soon here. So
one of these days.
Let's start with sugar, okay? Let's start with a math equation for you. First of all, sugar and diabetes, right? Glucose enters the cell of the body to create energy. 20,000 insulin receptors allow glucose to enter the cell. Over time, if there's excess sugar, there's excess insulin. Excess insulin receptors burn out. 5,000 remain effective. Glucose cannot enter the cells of the body, so there's consequences to that, meaning that glucose goes into your bloodstream. And it creates like a swamp in your blood, and it causes a lot of different problems. Nutrients can't get to your cells, tissues, and your organs. So Dr. Kalie has a math test for you, and I'm not really good at math, but I think everybody can get this equation.
I got it. So, Bob. Do you know Bob? Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby has 36 candy bars. He eats 29 of them. So now what does he have?
Diabetes.
He's got the diabetes.
36 candy bars. If he eats 29 of them, he gets diabetes. And
you know, I was on the airplane this weekend on Sunday, and both flights that I had, there's people surrounding me, and they had like bagfuls of 15 different candy bars, and they were just mowing through these things. And then you get off the flight, and it's like you run to the like concession stands, I guess you would call them at airports, and it's like, who can get the most candy bars and the sugar coated things in the world, and let's race to see who can eat them the fastest.
Yeah, it's being prepared. Like, I brought my food for the trip there and the trip back, so I had this big bag of stuff and my raw eggs and my kimchi and all the good healthy natural stuff that I want to consume during the day. I even brought my MCT oil in little shampoo bottles so I can bring it on the plane with me and mix it up right when I get off of there. But if I didn't do that, like, I'd be searching for those bags of nuts that are filled with sugar. And you look at the ingredients of those things, and it's all sugar. I believe that there's 70% of our products in America, 76% of every product package that you open that's made in America has sugar added to it. 76%. And that's sugars that do not need to be consumed. It's sugars that are added to make you buy more of it. And if you buy more sugar, you create more of the diabetes.
The diabetes. Dr. James is sugar-free though, so he does not have to worry about that. Hey guys, I know that there's some people joining us on Facebook. I just want to invite you to like this, share it, invite your friends to there. We've got some people over on Instagram too.
What's up, Instagram?
This is super exciting. We're going through this PowerPoint here. We're going through sugar and why it is the worst substance that you can consume.
Did you know you could also listen to this on iTunes? So if you don't catch the entire episode, you can actually get on iTunes, Tea Time with the Judges, and subscribe to that channel and start downloading those things every single week. We do this once a week on average. So like this and share it, please, because again, we also have a new Dr. You page. So if you're liking this information, you want to become your own doctor, make sure that you like the page of Dr. You and share this with your friends.
So there's a study that we're going to go through. You want to go through that with them?
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you were going to do it. Okay. So, studied 41% of patients remained symptom-free after 3 months. So what they were doing was studying the fact of if sugar has anything to do with type 2 diabetes. And let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger.
41% of the patients remained symptom-free after 3 months. Okay, so this was a diabetic study, 3 different groups. The first group, we followed them for 3 months. 41% of the patients remained symptom-free. 21% of the patients remain symptom-free following the nutrition and exercise plan for only 2 months. Again, compliance and consistency are key with this thing called diabetes and sugar content. Only 14% remain symptom-free when continuing insulin treatment. So the drugs that the doctors give you were only 14% effective, right? So the most effective group was the group that actually changed their lifestyle. We say all the time that 95% of all disease is due to lifestyle. So whether you've created diabetes, whether you've created heart disease, whether you've created the cancer, you've got the ability to transform that by the way that you transform your lifestyle.
Yeah, so we see some massive success with people that are just starting to starve their body from sugars. And it's not just the table sugar that you can spoon into things and cover coat with sugar. It's things that also turn into sugar. So we have to cut sugars out and cut also the things that turn into sugar. So those would be your breads, your pastas, your crackers, your cookies, sauces. Sauces are the sneaky, sneaky devil because you can, I think, we went to dinner at this really nice restaurant on Saturday night in California, and the next morning I woke up and my hands were swollen and everything was just like not okay. And I got fish and it had this like glaze over the fish, and I know that there was probably sugar and probably some MSG in there. But my body reacts so quickly to it because I just can feel it. But, looking at the menu, it was just like fish and asparagus, and it should have been good. But my body reacted to it. So sauces, you have to make sure that you're reading the labels in these sauces. Fruit, that's a big, huge controversy that we always get in some lovely arguments or conversations with our patients and our family and our friends. Something that we talk about is always only eating fruits that are berries, grapefruits, and then we can even do Granny Smith apples, and then lemons and limes would be also effective as well.
Why is it only those 3?
They have a lower glycemic index response in your body, so there's not as much sugar. So you're still going to get that craving as if you're eating the sugar, but you're not going to get the glycemic spike.
And you still have to be conscious about the amount of berries that you're eating. Blueberries have a lot of great antioxidant therapeutic events that happen when you eat those berries, but you've got to consume so many of them. So there's different sources of antioxidants that you can be consuming rather than berries. So I try to cut most fruits out very sparingly. If you think about how fruit is designed in nature, it's right before the winter season. So fruit is designed to get sugar into your blood, into your body, into your fat cells, so you can have a source of energy through the months that we're supposed to be hibernating. That's really how God designed fruit. We're not supposed to have it all the time. You're not supposed to be able to go to the store and buy a bunch of fruit from across the world that's been grown and put on your table. So again, I cut mine very sparingly as well to Granny Smith apples, grapefruits, and berries. Very rarely will I have those things. And if I do, my carbohydrate intake for the day, if I have one of those apples, is almost halfway done. You know, so again, you've got to be conscious about how you eat these things. So cutting sugar, we just gave you a little bit of info on that, but what are some things that turn into sugar that we don't think about? Like this is not Skittles we're consuming, but you know, studies have shown that if you consume a banana and you consume a piece of bread, the same thing happens to your blood sugar with both of those things. And a banana and a Snickers bar, actually with the banana your blood spikes even faster because of the consumption of that stuff. So what are some things that we don't associate sugar with that do turn directly to sugar?
Yeah, I think I went through that a little bit as I was going through that. But breads and pastas are big ones. People look at that stuff and they don't see white fluffy sugar. But crackers too, cookies, really breads and pastas I think would be the huge things. Even tortillas and stuff like that people don't look and see that as being a sweet thing. So they're like, oh, I don't have any sweets. But really the reality is that you're eating a loaf of bread for breakfast, and you know that's going to spike your sugar.
So number one source of sugar, I want you to think about it. What do you think the number one source of sugar would be? You know, for me, many people think candy, many people think ice cream, many people think whatever. You know, what else would you think of when you think of sugar?
I think of candy.
Yeah, candy, me too. Number one source of sugar is actually soda. The average American consumes 55 gallons of soda per year.
That is crazy. And it's 1 to 2. Like, I have a problem with even like diet
55
soda.
gallons of soda per year. I mean,
that's like because people are slamming a soda directly in the morning, 2 or 3 at lunch, and 2 or 3 at dinner on the way home, and then they throw some in there, and it's more than 44 grams. And we have a Coke in the back, and it's 64 grams of sugar in a 20-ounce Coke. And that just blows my mind that I don't even know if I consume that much sugar in an entire day. So it's just a lot. And sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So it's not just the effect that it's having on your cells, but it's also the effect that it's having on your brain cells. A great documentary to go and watch is called Fed Up. And it's something that will explain to you the diabetes epidemic, the obesity epidemic, especially in children. It's an amazing, amazing movie to watch. Fed Up. You can get it on Netflix. You can get it on Amazon Prime. All that kind of stuff. Also, you have to be careful with substituting regular sodas with diet sodas because diet sodas don't have sugar in them. However, they do have artificial sweeteners in those, and those are neurotoxins, and so they're attacking your nervous system. And I actually just have a patient yesterday. She came in. She's like, today's my first full day with not having any Diet Coke, and she's like literally 2 to 3 Diet Cokes a day. And she's like, I have a splitting headache. I'm like, you're literally coming off of a drug right now. So you have to just stay the course, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and walk through that.
I had a conversation actually with your patient yesterday, and she came up and said basically that my kids are coming over, so I have to stock soda. My grandkids are coming over, so I have to stock soda in my house. And I'm like, well, what are you setting them up for in the future? We're setting them up for failure. So in the future, I would say there's things that we can replace soda with. A great resource out there that I love to have once or twice a week, sometimes more, is Zevia. Right?
Zevia, yes.
Zevia sodas. And there's different flavors of that, which I don't really agree with, but very sparingly you can use this. It's a lot better than a can of Coca-Cola or Sprite or whatever it is. There's flavor like Mountain Dew. There's flavor like root beer. All the flavors, all the things.
Give them all the flavors.
Yeah, all the flavors.
Give them all the flavors.
Some other things that have a lot of sugar in them, sometimes even more than soda. So Sobe, the green tea, right? So people look at that,
stuff.
The green tea, and say this is great for me. And marketing on these things like this is very, very deceiving. So be aware. Again, you've got to start to read your labels.
Anything also that says low fat or no sugar, that stuff is going to have the same aspartame that's in like a diet soda. So you have to be very, very, very diligent at reading the actual labels of what you're putting into your body. It says here that 1 Sobe green tea drink is equivalent to 4 slices of Sara Lee cherry pie. 1 green tea drink is the same as eating 4 slices of cherry pie. I almost would probably rather have you eat the cherry pie.
Me too. I would rather eat the cherry pie than the soda. if I were to choose. Now, Rockstar energy drinks. First of all, there's a problem with putting a bunch of sugar and a bunch of caffeine together into a drink that you consume. Some people are so addicted to this stuff, they go through their entire day. You can just smell it coming out of their pores. Like I went and bought a vehicle last year, and the guy in there had this stuff, he was pounding it like it was water. And he's addicted to that stuff, and he's like all over the place, you know. So Rockstar energy drinks have 62 grams of sugar. The Sobe has 61 grams of sugar, but again, the Rockstar has a bunch of caffeine in it as well. So basically, they're the same thing, just packaged in a different bottle. So basically 6 Krispy Kreme donuts is the equivalent to a Rockstar energy drink. How crazy is that? 6 Krispy Kreme donuts.
All of our favorite coffee places.
Yes.
I'm not gonna go into what, but if it was a peppermint white chocolate mocha and whipped cream
From Starbucks.
from there, has 95 grams of sugar. That is equivalent to 8.5 scoops of Edie's ice cream. So again, like, what would you rather have? I personally would rather have the ice cream. Although we don't want you to be having either of them. This is just to show you what you're doing, you know. And then if you put like, okay, what do I need to do to work out to burn that sugar off of you? It's like, go run a half marathon and then you can maybe burn that sugar off.
Yep.
So let's fly through the rest of these things.
So
here.
sugar sources, okay, things you want to look for on the back of your packaging is lactose, honey, xanthan gum, yeah, that's very, very deceiving, cane juice, high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, cornmeal, fructose, maple sugar, corn syrup, sugar cane, glucose, maple syrup, again, I don't know why there's twice there, sucrose, corn sugar, dextrose, and cornstarch. Okay, so we'll have this linked up in the show notes for you as well.
Guys, another thing too is for cancer and sugar, and we're not going to go into too much in-depth detail. I think we did that a couple months ago. But what I want to just discuss with you, maybe you didn't see that episode, you can go back on podcast and listen to that. But sugar has cancer tumors have up to 16 times the receptor sites for cancer alone to go out and grab it. So it's like a magnet. It's like pouring gasoline onto a fire. Every single time that you eat sugar, you're pouring gasoline onto your tumor fire. So just think about that when you want to go eat that donut, or you want to go eat that Snickers bar. If you want to go eat, have the nice frothy drink from your favorite coffee place. Think about what you're doing. What is this going to do to my future self? Is this going to be building health, or is it going to be building disease? I want you to start thinking about your future you and not your right now you, because your right now you is going to be satisfied in that moment, but you've got to think about what that future you is going to be dealing with.
Right now.
Right now. Today.
Yes. Be aware, okay? So some things that are better, but they're still going to turn into sugar. Acceptable grains on the core plan, we have an advanced plan and core plan. So sprouted grains, okay? And that creates like Ezekiel bread, or there's a thing called cashew with 7 different multi-grains in them that are puffed. All bran, the original. Those are some things that are better for you, but again, for me, I want to stay away from that as much as possible, because again, those things turn into sugar.
I think that we're talking about all bran being not good for
Not
you.
good, yes.
Look on the back of that ingredient label, and the first ingredient is wheat bran. The second ingredient is sugar, glucose, fructose. The third ingredient is corn flour and malted barley. And then there's a bunch of other chemicals in there to hold it together and make it taste good. So that is not what you want to be putting into your body. You want to be putting something like the Ezekiel bread. Ezekiel even has some cereals and things. This is stuff that's based off of the principles in the Bible. You want to get as close to the source as possible. I used to have Ezekiel bread all the time. I stay away from that as much as possible now.
Yep, and stevia is one of my go-tos when I want to sweeten something, and just when I have that sugar tooth in my tea. But you've got to be conscious about the packaging as well, because again, this thing called Pure Via, and there's different things out there. Truvia, I believe. The number one thing in Truvia is dextrose, so that's sugar plus stevia. So they're packaging it as it's stevia, but it's really just sugar and stevia to make it sweet. Okay, so you want to make sure it's just as much as possible pork and shellfish. Now, the pork, because pork has been raised in this nasty environment, most of them. With the commercially raised pork, they have antibiotics and steroids and hormones in them. So if you do go for pork, you want to go to what word am I looking for?
Organic.
Farm, yes. And you want to make sure that, you know, you can see the pigs there and they're making it. The difference between factory raised pork and organic pork that you get from a farm, you'll see that when you cook if you have bacon, when you cook the bacon, it's white and it's not pink and it doesn't have all this food coloring and additives in it.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and it's you know, chicken is great for you, but it's very, very lean and it's going to give you the most punch of protein. However, like the beefs and the stuff like that is going to be packed around with fat, which is what the source that we want also. So when he's talking about bacon even too, you want to see that white stuff on there because that's the really good fat that's within that protein source as well.
Shellfish. Why are shellfish bad?
Shellfish, because they're very shellfish.
Yeah, sure, shellfish.
Shellfish.
Yep. Talk about it.
So they are bottom feeders. So what I always say in my nutrition class is that they eat poop. But more importantly than that, they are loaded with heavy metals and arsenic. So you want to stay away from those things as much as possible because those are going to bioaccumulate into your body. So the smaller the actual the actual insect or fish is, the more bioaccumulation that it may have. So you want to kind of go up from there. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm just adding some. I'm commenting here live. So if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them out here so we can answer them live.
You know, a couple of things that I try to stay away from, or I do stay away from, is the mussels, the scallops, the clams. We go into lobsters, crabs, shrimp. Those are all shellfish. We're not saying don't ever have these things. But go as close to the source. A couple of years ago, James and I were in San Francisco. We walked into a restaurant, and I can't tell you the last time I had this, but I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to have some crab legs. Had some crab legs, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
Last summer, I was in Boston, and when you're in Boston, you have to have lobster because that's just what you do. And so I got some lobster, and I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed having it, but I haven't had it since, and I don't know when the next time I'm going to have it. Sometimes, a lot of you guys out there are eating this stuff on a weekly basis, maybe just a monthly basis, or even daily. So you have to start staying away from that and making it much more sparing.
Well, and there's a difference between having it in San Francisco right by the water and then going over to Costco here in Midwest, where we live in the Chicagoland area, and getting these huge Alaskan king crab legs that have been there who knows how long and consuming that. I did that and I got pretty sick after that because I just had this taste. I love shellfish. I love seafood, and I'm not going to say that I don't, but I do it very rarely. It's a treat, if that, maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times a year.
I watched this documentary series. It's called Rotten, and it goes through our food source and where it comes from and what it is. It's on Netflix. I recommend all of you guys going out and watching it. There is some foul language in there, so just be prepared for that. But it goes through like our fish source, our cow dairy source. It goes through poultry, chicken, all kinds of different things, fruits and vegetables, and it's going to just blow your mind and convict you even more of how you need to stay local and be eating that stuff.
These animals, toxic bioaccumulate. Did you go through that?
Yep.
Okay. So, factory raised cows. I have a huge problem with that, and I don't want to take away from these people that live on farms and they've worked on farms their entire life and they've done this dairy farming, and I've gotten to an argument with a lot of people about how this works. But, if we're turning our cows into factory-raised animals for a product called milk for protein that we're not even supposed to consume as humans, there's a problem with that because they're treated very inhumanely. I'm looking at a picture right now where these cows are lined up in stalls, and basically they spin them around and around and around, and they get the milk, and basically all they want is it for like I said for a yield of money, and we don't need to consume this stuff. Our bodies aren't meant to consume cow's milk on a daily basis, like everyone does. These big jugs of milk. Hormones are injected into these cows and again bioaccumulate into the milk stream, and it's sent out through that thing, and you feed it to your kids, and it causes a lot of different problems. Antibiotics and hormones and steroids, all of that stuff accumulates over time and causes issues. Not only that, but if we're feeding our cows anything other than grass, it creates imbalance in the omega-3 fatty acid ratio to omega-6. And that causes inflammation because then we consume that imbalance, and imbalances our bodies and causes inflammation in our bodies, causes a lot of different things that happen in joints, in the brain, in the gut, a lot of different problems.
Yeah, so let's go through the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio situation real quick. There's not a bad omega, right? But there's a common misnomer of that omega-6s are the bad guys because if you have too many omega-6s, then you're going to create inflammation, which is 100% true. But the reality is that you need both. So they're both really good guys. You just have to make sure that you're balancing these things. And so like Dr. James was talking about, there's a difference between grass-fed and conventionally raised protein. So grass-fed, first of all, the ideal ratio that you would want to have with omega-6 versus omega-3 is you want to have 4 omega-6s for every 1 omega-3. So a 4-to-1 ratio. The typical person is walking around with 20 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. So that is a highly elevated ratio. So the typical grass-fed ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 is 4-to-1. So that's the ideal ratio that you want to have. Now the typical ratio for grain-fed beef, which is conventionally raised protein, is 21-to-1. So there's a direct correlation to why we're walking around with 20-to-1 ratios and why and most of us are eating that conventionally raised grain-fed cows. That's why it's super, super important to start eating grass-fed, free-range, organic, wild-caught protein because that's going to be the best source for you.
100%. So for time's sake here, let's move into fats. I think, again, like I said, fats has been ridiculed and ostracized and just bashed in the news for years and years and years and years and years. And it's not the fat that's bad, it's the types of fats that are bad. So we have to start consuming more healthy fats and stop consuming the factory made fats that are cheaply made and consumed by most of us. And most of that stuff is introduced into your crackers and into the different things that we consume open from packages. So get rid of the bad fats. And what are the bad fats?
Bad fats are like your canola oil, your safflower oil, your sunflower oil, your vegetable oil, soybean oil, soy, what I miss?
There's a lot. So just look up bad fats. Josh, drax.com.
Margarine instead of real butter.
drax.com has a lot of great resources to show you how to change the bad fats into the good fats. But good, healthy fats, raw nuts and seeds. You want to make sure that they're raw. And you want to sprout the nuts. You want to soak the nuts. Okay, it sounds a little weird, but you should be, anything that you consume should be soaked in water overnight to help it get rid of a thing called phytic acid. It won't allow you to digest your food, the nuts, and it also cleans them. So seeds as well, you want to soak the seeds. Chia seeds is a great source of omega-3. Flax seeds is a great source of omega-3. I put those in my shake in the morning. Coconut milk, it's a staple in my house. I use at least a can of Thai cuisine coconut milk per day, full fat, not the light stuff. Coconut oil and MCT oil and different things like that, staple in my diet. We also want to make sure we're getting organic grass-fed dairy. If you are consuming dairy, which I do consume, I'm not going to say that I don't, but it's very rare, and it's cheese. I don't consume milk products. Yogurt is great if it's cultured. Cultured dairy is great. Yogurt, you can turn it into that, and grass-fed cheese as well. So
that's it.
That's it for today.
So obviously there's a lot to go through with that. You know, again, we have our event this weekend. It's on Saturday. So if you are in the St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia, Aurora area, we have an amazing, incredible event happening at the Pheasant Run in St. Charles at on February 3rd at 8:30 a.m. And that's going to go for about 2 to 3 hours. And we are just going to load all of this stuff onto you guys. We only have a crunch time here to go through it, but we are ready to unpack. The PowerPoint that we have is, I've been going through it this week, and it is just like blowing my mind away of the information that people are about to receive.
If you don't live in this area, we're going to have a 30-day challenge, and it's exclusively in our Dr. U site. All you have to do is join Dr. U. You will get the PDF for absolutely free and go through it with us together. Every single day we're going to be engaged with you, walk you through the process of a 30-day challenge to help you transform your sugar, protein, and fats. Transform your mind, transform your body, and transform your life. So thanks, guys. Please like this and share this. Get this message out to as many people as we can. Again, go back and listen to this on iTunes, because the more you learn about this, sorry, I got something going on here. But the more you learn about this, the more you're exposed to it, the more change that you'll have. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you at Resolve, and we'll see you in Dr. U.